Thank you. Dear esteemed participants of the forum, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be part of today's discussion. As you know, the triple planetary crisis, climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution is a shared concern of humankind, which poses existential threats to our societies. The international community attempts to find a way out of the crisis through normative and institutional innovation. In July 2022, the UN General Assembly, with an overwhelming majority, adopted a resolution on the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. And a considerable number of states recognized this right. Additionally, there are regional initiatives in Europe and elsewhere to make sure environmental rights are enforceable. Furthermore, multilateral climate and biodiversity discussions have recognized that a just transition to an inclusive and sustainable green economy must be people-centered and implemented with full respect for the human rights of those who are excluded and marginalized from global economic processes. To enable people to claim their rights, it is important to guarantee them access to information, participation in decision-making processes, and access to justice in environmental matters, as enshrined in the Aarhus Convention. Climate change has a negative impact on the people and economy of Uzbekistan. It increases land degradation and desertification and affects agricultural production and biodiversity. It also exacerbates water scarcity and poses additional challenges for affected communities. Air pollution remains a serious problem that negatively affects people's health and well-being. Access to information, public participation, and access to justice need to be improved. Although individuals and non-governmental organizations have the right to bring environmental cases to courts, there is still no practice in this area. It is recommended that the capacity of the judiciary and legal professionals be improved to better meet environmental justice needs of the people of Uzbekistan. Human rights offer a tool to ensure more transparency and accountability, inclusion, participation, and equity in the process of green transformation. However, effective action is needed to implement these principles. Companies and government agencies seeking to realize just transition objectives must remain accountable. Such accountability should be rooted in the human rights policy of the respective institution. In reality, however, the objective remains unattained. For example, it has been argued that companies in the renewable energy value chain need a more credible human rights strategy. Also, state-owned enterprises often lack human rights and environmental due diligence strategies. In short, there is a lack of effective and consistent climate protection measures at various levels. It is therefore not surprising that governments and private sector entities are being increasingly challenged and held to account. Climate litigation is emerging as a key tool to ensure accountability. People are increasingly turning to the courts. Youth, women groups, local communities, and indigenous people are taking a prominent role in bringing new cases to the courts. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has rightly identified climate litigation as an important avenue for stakeholders to influence climate policy. Over recent years, national and international courts have developed a rich body of jurisprudence dealing with the impacts of climate change, with some cases gaining considerable international attention. The cases are not only concentrated in a small number of countries in the global north. Several cases from the global south have also gained international prominence. The number of climate lawsuits is also increasing in Europe and Central Asia. Most cases aim to strengthen the national policy frameworks for addressing climate change. The European Convention on Human Rights, as you know, has an important impact on legal developments in the region. In a landmark case of 9th April 2024 against Switzerland, the European Court determined for the first time the scope of states' positive obligations under the European Convention on Human Rights in relation to climate change. The court examined the scientific evidence on climate change, the irreversibility of its effects, and the global consequences of this phenomenon against the state's climate targets, policies, and measures. The court found that the inadequacy of the measures taken by Switzerland constituted a violation of the right to private and family life, which the court interpreted as the right to be free from environmental threats to personal life, Article 8 of the Convention. This precedent sets this precedent set by the court will probably push the 46 member states of the Council of Europe to act and to ensure that their targets are sufficient and that their policies and measures are adequately implemented to achieve their objectives. States in the region may need to revise their climate targets and measures to minimize the risk of litigation. Such a revision of measures may include a review of the legal framework and policies related to climate change. As part of its climate promise, UNDP supports governments in defining and honoring the relevant commitments. Part of the legal progress in this area is the recently issued advisory opinion issued by the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, in which the tribunal clarified the scope and content of states' climate obligations and under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And the court introduced a standard of due diligence based on the best available science. This creates a basis for states to be held accountable for their actions and omissions that have caused climate change and impacted the marine environment.
Well, your time is up. Please summarize.
Okay, I am short of time.
Yes,
that's
please
why I
summarize.
just want to emphasize that this practice can evolve in the future and new types of cases may emerge, such as migration-related litigation and also other cases. But what I wanted to say about UNDP's work in 2 sentences, we are working on different continents and in different countries, including a few countries in Europe and Central Asia. You see this on the slide. So we are working in a number of countries, including Georgia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kyrgyzstan, Kosovo, North Macedonia, implementing environmental justice work. And this work is based on 3 pillars of the UNDP environmental justice strategy. First, enabling legal frameworks and environmental justice legal basis for environmental justice. Second, strengthening people-centered and effective institutions. And finally, increasing access to justice and legal empowerment in environmental matters. So these are the 3 pillars of our work. And we have designed projects implementing around those pillars. You see this on that map. So working not only in our region, but also worldwide. Thank you for your attention.